All right. Good morning, everybody. It's noon on the East Coast on December 16th. We're heading towards the end of the year, and welcome if you're listening to me live, and if you're listening to me on in a recorded session. I hope you had a good holiday season, and we're hitting into 2016 with a vengeance. I have a topic picked out, but I'll wait for a few seconds here to see if anybody dials in. I know that's what everybody'd love to do right in the middle of their year-end process is listen to me chit-chat away. It is freezing here in San Diego. It's about 55 degrees, so everywhere around the country is bragging how it's warmer than Southern California. So I have my sweater vest on, remind me of my Michigan roots. But let's move on. If you have a question at any time, go through and hit that red Ask a Question button. As always, I'll remind you we are at Open Office Hour on Twitter, presented by Web Vitality, my employer. We are a pay-per-click agency that specializes in small to mid-sized businesses. You can find us on the web at webvitality.net. There's all my other info. If you want to ask a question now, below my video stream there, my live video stream is the button. But you can also email it to me, and I have that information at the end as well. When I asked around the office today, or before prepping for today, I asked, what's a question that we get asked the most? And the one that instantly popped into Janelle's mind, because she talks to the most of our clients and people that call in, was essentially a position that owners find themselves in, which is they have a website that's not working great, and they want to do pay-per-click, but they have combined the two, and they don't know which should go first, or that they feel that they need to do them simultaneously. So it's sort of a chicken and the egg, as you can see on the screen there, my little image. Which should I do first, right? Which comes first? And the answer might surprise you. Well, like I said, here's a normal situation. You have a small, medium-sized business that has a website that isn't great. I mean, if you haven't done one in the last year or so, the technology probably has passed you by at least a little bit. You can never stay on the cutting edge, and nobody really needs to for most, especially in environment, a local B2B small business. You just have to look decent, if nothing else, right? Your site may not be supported anymore. It's not easy to update. The owner has a new one on his or her to-do list. Frankly, every small business somewhere on their to-do list, their website is usually finds a home. And the reasons are, maybe vanity or ego. That's not what they want to be seen as. But from a practical standpoint, it's not generating the amount of leads that they're hoping for. They hear about all these online businesses excelling with their websites, and they're jealous, frankly. But most of these folks are typically relying on organic traffic and perhaps some small sort of self-managed pay-per-click campaign that's not optimized, and as we've discussed in many of the other sessions, probably leaking like a sieve in terms of bad keywords and lack of negative keywords. The owner knows that PPC is something that he or she needs to figure out. That's on their to-do list too, right? So you get two things on their never-ending list of things to be done, which is I need a new website and I need to figure out how to grow my business using it, whether they call it pay-per-click or just advertising, however they perceive it, that's where they want to be. They want to be at the top of the list. Because these two things find similarity in the web, they are often assumed to be related, and therefore the cumulative cost of action, right? How much time is this? How much time and money are these two to-do lists going to take up? Is pretty prohibitive. They don't have the time or the energy or the money to do both. They feel that they're connected, and so therefore they don't do either. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place. One of the reasons that people perceive these two things to be together are a practical matter, which is that's who sells these products, right? So, or these services. That you have a web agency that builds websites, and they also do pay-per-click management. They're really two different skill sets, but they're most often found in the same office and the same vendor, so to speak. So they're sort of grouped together, and that's not necessarily how it should be. And I'll point that out as we go through this. The truth is, small ones that know what they're doing don't send paid traffic to their normal public websites. The website is for organic use. It's for SEO, meaning all the free traffic, right? So you build a website with keywords and with answering questions that people are going to want to be asked or are asking online. They have content and answers to questions that people are doing in their pre-purchase research. I've mentioned it before, and it's a pretty common stat that nowadays when somebody reaches out to you on the internet, they've already done about 90% of their investigation. They're really ready to buy. Whereas in the past, they would reach out and do research with the salespeople. By the time a salesperson gets involved, most of them have done most of their due diligence. But the big companies are sending paid traffic, meaning people that click on a pay-per-click ad or from a display ad. They're sending them to a landing page, which is a completely separate process, a completely separate page by design from their website. Again, this is big companies. In reality, most of the small companies are sending the ads to the home page, which is cardinal sin number one of pay-per-click, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But you can do this too. You can do what big companies do, not as a per se, but Web Vitality does this all the time. We want to separate your website from your landing pages. There's different infrastructure, there's different technology, there's different tracking, there's different everything. And if you're using your web page, you're not doing it right. That's just the way that it is. I have gone through, and here's 7 pointers, a landing page 101. I could do a whole session on landing pages, but frankly, what differentiates a landing page, and I'm going to show you some examples in a second here, is there's supposed to be one CTA, a call to action. It's whatever was driving. So you have it in the ad, ask for a free quote. When you get to the call to action, it should line up and it should say, here's how you get your free quote. You may get away with a minor call to action, such as sign up for a newsletter or download something, but it's maybe in a pop-up box or whatever. And then there's some unknown activities, such as placing pixels and using tagging and stuff, so that you can retarget to this client or hit them up in their Facebook feed or something. But the visitor doesn't know that's happening. They're being asked to consider whether or not they should ask for a quote or not. In a perfect world, there shouldn't be any outward navigation. Certainly off of your website, you would never want to do, like you wouldn't want to take them to a supplier website or something. But even generally, you don't want to take them into your own regular, let's call it marketing website, your organic website. Maybe the logo clicks into the link if you want to, or if you have people that are really know your brand or may already be your customers, you may want to have a little login page, login link somewhere. But by and large, you have them trapped or in a position to be squeezed for the conversion that you're looking for, which is that call to action. Your landing page may require what I'm calling some inner landing page navigation if the keyword is too broad. And the example I'm going to show you is such a case where you have a business service that would also be searched primarily or used almost the same exact words for someone doing it for their house, for example. If your business is segmented into different consumer and commercial segments, whatever, but they use the same keywords, then your landing page may need some navigation, but it has to be really quick and really clean. You're also going to want to tie directly to the source of the traffic. The content should match the ad and the keyword. The images should be consistent with the idea of what you're talking about, and everything should be fully anticipated. Again, so if I type in quotes for cleaning service and I go to see an ad that says ask for a free quote, I expect the call to action to be how do I get a free quote for a cleaning service. I don't expect to find myself on a home page of something that offers 10 different services like security and facilities, moving or whatever. I just want to know about cleaning and I want to get a quote. The landing page should have an astronomical amount of ways to track what's going on. They should have separate phone numbers that are tallied up and probably even recorded. There should be underlying analytics as to the source. There should be tagging. There should be all sorts of things going on that allow you to go back and figure out what your ROI is in relation to the session we did a week or two ago. Landing page technology that's out there really is really great. It supports A/B testing on even very micro levels. Like, did it work better with an orange button versus a blue button? Does this headline work better than that headline? Does it work better when the form is below the fold, meaning I have to scroll down to get it, or not? That's a landing page really should have a several versions of landing page for the same process to allow you to properly test, which again you're never going to get in your normal website navigation. And again, I'm going to say it again. I have number 2, no outward navigation. Number 7, and no part of the overall navigation is your landing page. Does your landing page needs to be found? So if you go to your website, you shouldn't be able to go through the navigational links at the top and find the landing page. It doesn't need to be there. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be organized via the Google search results. That's not what it's there for. There should be less. The landing page is a less is more, whereas the web page is a more is more from the organic standpoint. So it may have repetitive content, but it should not be the same content. It should not be as much. So let me go into examples. Many of our clients at Web Vitality are in the information management space. And I have personally come from that space. If you tell somebody what business you're in, they don't know what the heck you're talking about. If you refer to the company Iron Mountain, they go instantly, "Oh, I know that company." I would venture to guess most people don't actually know that company, but they know the brand. So it's the number one brand, the global behemoth in this business. If I search for shredding services, an Iron Mountain ad will show up in probably every corner of the earth, and certainly the English-speaking world and many others, and they're going to know that brand. But they still use AdWords because it's the best way for them to tap into that branding, and they get tons of leads, and they spend, according to some of the sources I have, up to $1 million a month on pay-per-click. So if I did a shredding services search, which I did yesterday in advance of this, I get an ad right here. It says on-site shredding service, ironmountain.com. So you see right here, they talk about secure document shredding, safely dispose of papers. They have some call outs, some site links. And if you clicked on that ad, you went to this landing page right here. And I'll show you in a second. They have another place that you might go. But when you go there, you see this very clear and concise page. This is the entire page. It ends here. And it has chat functionality and a phone number. Fairly easy to see, not super easy, but that goes to a call center where they're ready to help you buy shredding service. They give you a quick little how it works. If you had some questions, a headline, a tagline, some information, and then very easily start with a free quote. Some interest, just basic stuff, and you request your free quote, and away you go. That's their page. So you see the key elements. It's very much in sync with the ad. Some people would write these ads where they'd say for a free quote, click here, whatever. They kind of presume that that's what you're doing in this business, so they don't have to worry about that. They have a brand to build as much credibility. If you're a local company, you may have to say, in business since 1987, or put some client logos or something on there from a credibility standpoint. But you'll notice they're not selling their other products. They're not doing anything fancy. There's no navigation up here whatsoever in this top area to get you to all the other things they do. They do everything all across the world, but I can't do anything on this page other than get a shred quote. Great landing page from a great big company with a lot of marketing intelligence. As I mentioned, they are an example of somebody that has a multi-audience for this service, right? So I may be shredding. I might need a one-time shred. I might need a shredding where it's picked up, which is kind of like their normal recurring business. Some people prefer on-site shredding, so these are kind of the same business, but they're not necessarily. E-waste is a related business, and then of late into this industry is residential shredding. Huge amounts of traffic in the shredding business in the home market. Iron Mountain certainly is not as a brand can take advantage of that. But again, you see the top of the page is the same, very limited activity. There's not a form on here, but they do build some credibility. In case you didn't know who they were, we service 94% of the Fortune 1000 companies. Here's some brands, great. So sometimes their ad goes to this page, and then you have to click to that. If you went to, I think it's on-site shredding takes you to that previous page. So this is a two-step landing page where they put you into a little funnel and give you a message relative to that little sort of micro market. Some of you might be in a position where you have to do that, where you have a consumer direct to consumer funnel, and you also have a let's say a business funnel where the search terms are identical, and you have to segment the audience. If you compare that landing page, so I'll do this later, but if you compare this page, this top, to this page, which is their real home page, you choosing country, you're choosing customer resources, you're contacting sales, you're logging into your portal, you have all the different services and solutions, a whole knowledge center about the company, and then get a free quote. So you have a free quote here, right? But it's buried amongst all these other things. This is their regular website. So their millions of customers or hundreds of thousands of customers throughout the world might be going here to log in and request a box or request service or get an invoice or whatever. In addition to people that just know that they need service and they know that Iron Mountain's in this business, so they're trying to figure it out and they want a free quote. So this page has to serve all the masters of the organization. This is not the end of this page. It keeps going. You'll see some similarities, but it keeps going. And then there's a scrolling, rotating banners here as to the various businesses that they're in. And I'm sure that they're weighted by how frequently the people that are coming to the site appear. But again, this is serving all masters, new customers, old customers, many businesses, many countries. That's what a home page does. So if you send somebody that was looking for shredding services for their house in a certain country, you would make them go through many, many clicks to figure that out. The page that they would end up to if they went to secure shredding is this page. So this is a public page for shredding. It still has all the stuff at the top. It's a drill down within the services navigation. So this is part of this one, right? It's got all of their various pages. It's got all the great SEO, spider food, why you would shred, talking about the shredding liability. We're getting into other parts of this, but again, they're not going to landing pages. They're going to parts of the sales process. Far down at the bottom of this is get a free quote. So whereas before on the landing page it was well at the top, this is down at the bottom because it's a different area. Different area of the website. It's open to the public. They have blogs, they have newsletter signups, they have all kinds of stuff. So this has calls to action in abundance, whereas a landing page does not. Again, so the public page, when you go to so if you clicked on the free quote here, you're going to a closing page, let's call it, for inside the public domain. It's still a free quote, but you can still navigate out. So you'll see some stark differences. They're asking for your business email, your business phone, which is a great idea if you don't want their Yahoos and stuff. Is just asking for their business email. They might give it to you. This is a good landing page, but it's not actually a landing page. It's a public page inside of their website that is linked to when you get the free quote. You see, it's not quite as robust as the landing pages that we saw, but they don't have the people that got here after seeing other content, so they don't have to tell the story as much. So here's the comparison. Closing page in the public site, which we just saw, versus the landing page, which I started with, right? So the navigation is here, up here. It's not up here. Very simple. One call to action. This is the whole experience, right? One call to action. You can call, or you can fill out a form to get a quote. This was after you've already gone through several pages to get here, but that's where you're at. A shredding quote. Very different methodology and process. So to sum it all up on this topic, again, I kind of blended two topics. Do I need a website first, or should I do pay-per-click? They're not the same. They're different technologies if you do it right. They're different methodologies. Frankly, if up to me, I would say start with a pay-per-click campaign, because if a big part of the reason you're going to get a new website was to do pay-per-click, but you can't afford the poker that's being played in your marketplace, then your website's probably just fine, or you're going to have a whole different agenda with your website. Pay-per-click is the investment that you're going to have to keep investing in. So you have a website, which is more of a one-time thing. Pay-per-click is an ongoing commitment. So if you can't play the paper game click for the long haul, then maybe you don't do the website. So don't worry about which to do first. They're separate items, even if they're from the same vendors, which I wouldn't really recommend. But there are people like ourselves that do both, and do both well. I would still set a priority. I would pick one over the other. Again, I would pick pay-per-click because you get an idea of what's going on. I mentioned before that the pay-per-click game might not be for you. You might find out a few things that rule you out of it. One of which is the local cost per click. The people that we help are typically competing against Iron Mountain. So Iron Mountain is always in those searches, and they have to find a way to overcome their brand and their presence. Iron Mountain doesn't tend to be the top bidder in most markets, so they do allow people to spend on top of them. But how much does that cost? What's the competition level? How many other people are doing what I'm doing? Many markets have a middleman sort of aggregator, reseller. Get 4 quotes instantly by filling out this form, and then they go out and they sell those leads to the 4 independents. So, again, in the shred world, you have Iron Mountain, you might have Shred-it, you could have 3 or 4 independents, and then you could have an aggregator out there that's looking for the same lead that may, in fact, sell those leads to those 3 other people. So it's very crowded. You have to figure out the rules of the game. The other piece is how much traffic is there. You might be in a market that just doesn't have that much traffic to tap into. So creating a big giant web program may not be worthwhile, and it might just need a page. It may not work as well, but your cost benefit might pencil out. And what are the people willing to pay? So yeah, I can get a customer, but the long-term value of a residential customer may not be worth it. If I can't rule out the residential customer or the too small company versus the just right size company, if I can't find a way to weed them out, I may not do pay-per-click because the numbers don't work. So once you figure out if you can play it if you can. And so the new website, on the other hand, is really for your sales organization, right? So for those people that are networking, filling out RFPs, for your existing customers to get a hold of you, to be able to navigate and help what they think of you, your brand, right? If you want to be seen as a cutting edge technology friendly company, you can't have a crappy website. That doesn't make sense. But if you expect a new website to all of a sudden make web traffic appear, nobody really cares. They have to be looking for you or what you provide, and you have to be in the right spot, which is pay-per-click and organic. One thing you should never do, and unfortunately we have a situation we're privy to in our world here, is that somebody redid their website and all the links from their old website are no longer valid because that content's been shifted around to different pages. You need to make sure that Google knows where to find all that information that you work so hard to get going. And that's it for this week. Again, I would love your questions. I am answering questions that people give us throughout our day-to-day lives, but feel free to send them to be addressed publicly in this forum. If you need help, we do offer strategic hourly help and consulting services, as well as a monthly packaged, what we call fractional marketing department service, and we'd love to talk to you and see if that works for you, your business, and your budget. But until next week and online forever, thank you for your time. Bye-bye.